Hi guys, welcome to another Disney Infinity 3.0 tutorial. As I promised in my sneak preview, this is the step-by-step guide on how to create an atom bomb. Now in here you'll see I've got a little village with people living around, walking around, all civilians walking across. And our Dark Lord himself I thought was the appropriate guy to use. He's now going to set off a bomb and he's going to wipe them out. Okay, so all these people are going to die and the buildings are going to blow up as well. So you wait for 2 seconds, here we go. So if you notice there, we've got the set of explosions, we've got the smoke, we've got the cloud at the bottom spanning out that then disappears and goes back to the centre. And a key thing here, you'll notice that the buildings are destroyed. The fences are atom bomb resistant, I made sure that, just so it kept the people inside. But the buildings are completely wiped out, the village has been completely destroyed. Okay, right, let's put another clip, let's show that one again, just jump from a different angle. So like I say, got the village all set up, so this could be part of your game, and it's a central peak. If you don't do the mission in time, everyone gets killed. So I'll set the bomb off, and as it ticks down, so the building's all okay, everyone's walking around on the screen. You get the mushroom cloud and all that. So this clip is going to show you every step that I've built through here. Now there's a lot of repeating stuff, so although the clip looks quite long, there's not too many elements to it. It's just a little bit time consuming, and if you actually create this yourself, I think you'll do it within the hour. Okay, but as I noticed, the building's all destroyed, everything's gone and wiped out. So let's get building and show you how we got this to work. So all I've got here is just a straightforward empty toy box, and I've just made the ground sand. Yeah. And what we do is these are the ingredients we need to make an atom bomb work. So I'm just going to get my tools up and I'm going to go and select my effects generator. Now with playing around and testing this, I found obviously it takes a while, but so this technique here I'm showing you is probably the most efficient way to build it and the quickest way. I've tried this a number of times and it took absolutely ages to do, and I found this way is the quickest way to get this done. So I need some effects generators from my tool. I need 12 of them. Now you can have less, but the more explosions you have, the better it works. So we're going to put 12 of these items in, space them all across. In fact, that's only 10, so I need to add another 2. Okay, so they're my 12 effects generators, and they are going to be the explosion effect. Now, one of you already quoted in my preview, which explosion did I use? Now, I used a huge explosion, but I use a lot of them. So the other tool I'm going to need is the locator. Now, these are available with everybody, so I'm going to set how many of the effects tools do I have with each locator. So with the first one, I'm going to have 4 locators. Okay. And now for the next lot I want 2, and I'm going to need another 2. So with each of these locators, the explosion is going to go off in each one of these sets, hence why you get a bigger explosion appear on the screen. Okay, so I'll put these on here. So still 2 all the way across. Right, now when we get down here, again, this is just the tunnel, so the 2 locators are going to be used for the funnel. Okay, I've got the big explosion at the beginning and then the funnel going out. The rest of them here are going to be for the mushroom cloud. So instead of 2, I'm going to use 8. Okay, so that's my 8 for the box. The next one I'm going to need, I think I'm going to need 10. Now probably I'm going to put 12 in there. I'll use 12 in that particular case. Now, the more you use, the better. But remember, the last 4 locators that I'm using, so the last 4 effects generators are to be using for the mushroom cloud. So I've gone back to 8 again on the other one. Now, they're set up like this so that I can do the logic easier. If I spread these right where I want them to appear to start with, it takes absolutely forever. So I've set them up in that particular fashion so we can set those items up on the screen. So that's where the explosion is going to occur. The other effect I'm going to need is the smoke. So the first one I need is for the funnel. So you've got the smoke of funnel coming up as the explosions go. And the second one I'm going to need is the smoke along the ground that spreads out and the dust as the explosion pans out. So I need a number of locators to go with this. So I grab a locator. And I want to make sure the smoke is quite dense. I'm going to use 4 against the funnel. Now, as the smoke spans out, I'm going to need a few of these, so I'm going to use it spinning across the screen. So I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to pick 8. Now, the thing I want to happen is that as that smoke expands across the bottom, that is all the radiation, and that's going to destroy and kill everything. So everything you see there now is the effects you need to create the actual atom bomb explosion. But the smoke ones we're going to use to be the actual triggers that actually kill everybody within that area. So I'm going to need some dynamic triggers. So let me pull out some dynamic triggers, and every one of those smoke particles is going to be linked to a dynamic trigger. So I need now 8 of these in line up, and I'm going to line them up, as you'll see, against each locator. And when you're in those areas, those dynamic triggers, anything that's in those areas is going to be destroyed. Okay, so this here is my explosion. This is the cloud and dust, and then we've got the dynamic triggers. So what I'm also going to use now is a logic gate, and this is going to be our starting point. This logic gate is what triggers off the explosion. Now we can have anything connected to that, and as you'll see from most of my clips, I have a button linked into this logic gate for the test, but I can change that in my game once we get it going. And the other thing I'm going to use is the timer that will give us our countdown for 10 seconds, so we can see that it's coming down on the screen. Now we can set this for any time, but we'll show you that it comes through. So when that timer reaches, that'll set off the effect and the rest of the explosion. Now I need another logic gate, and this is going to be linked to my dynamic triggers, because I don't want the area to be deadly. It's only when the bombs come off, so I need to switch that on or off. And I need the kill switch to say once those locators are connected through that logic gate, that's when they become active. But that gate only gets switched on when the bomb goes off, so the area is not dangerous at the time. Now we've got all the ingredients here. That is it to create an atom bomb. So what I'm going to do here is, in the middle of the toy box, you'll see you've got the Disney Infinity logo, and in the center there, I'm using it as my focal point. That is where we're going to create our explosion. Now this bit, out of anything you pick up, was the thing that I couldn't get to happen because the timer is only going seconds. And the issue I want is I want this chain effect to be in less than seconds. So I'm using a path tool. Actually the path tool is going to be my timer. Is going to be my set of explosions. So this here is going to be what triggers off all the bombs. So I'm going to create a path going straight up. Now the first path, this is important, do 1 and then only 1 square up. I want you to click the stop button again. Go up another one and then click it. So you've got 3 dots. Now I'm going to go up in 2s. Okay, so I've created the path, I haven't finished yet. So the first goes the starting point. I've got 1 point, then 2, and now I'm going up in 2s all the way. And I need to make sure I go up every time to cater for the 12 locators I've got. Now, if you lose count, which I did several times doing this, the best thing is, even if you put more gaps than the actual effects generators you've got, it will still work. So don't worry, so always go more. So I'm trying to count up in 2s the 12 that I need. So theoretically, I need 24 gaps. I kept getting confused, so I've got it up to a certain height to make sure. So I'm thinking, have I got my number on the screen? Trying to count them through. So we've got our starting point. So the first 2 is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good job I didn't stop. 12. And just in case I might want to change anything, I may add another couple more as well. So let's put another 2 there. Now this is, like I say, I'm using as the timer. Now you're going to say, hold on, you've already got a timer tool. Well, the timer starts the explosion, but if I left the explosion every second, that wouldn't be good enough. Okay, it will be too slow and you'll get a very slow effect. So what I've got here is I'm going to put this locator against this path. Okay, and as the locator goes up the path, every time it reaches one of those points, it's going to set off my effects generator for the explosion. And this way I can have things happen in half a second or a fraction of a second, so I can get a slight delay, so you can use these as a line. So this whole path tool is purely as a timer. So I'm going to have to go to the properties of my locator, and I'm going to connect it to this path. So I connected that toy box path, connect it up, and as you see, it goes through. And as it goes up, each time it goes through, it will set that chain off. So what I'm going to do here is just going to go to the properties of the path. So I've just gone in there to the properties, and I'm going to change the speed. I want it to be slightly quicker. So in this case, I'm going to change the speed here to 300. That's as fast as I can get it. So as you'll see, as I set off, it will then go up through the list, and every time it goes through one of those points, that's when an explosion occurs. And that gets me to have the most fluid effect. I say if you do it on a repeater, repeat every second, it's too slow. And secondly, I have to keep too many AND gates. So this way is the most efficient way that I've got. Now obviously I don't want the explosion going off all the time. So as it keeps going up, it's ridiculous. So what I'm going to do here now is, actually with the very first point, and you saw that this was there was 1, 2, but this is the first little gap in between. I'm going to do a new logic connection. So I'm going to say, right, new logic connection, when point reached on path, when I reach the very first point, what I want you to do is, I want you to switch the thing off. And as you'll see, as it comes up, the object will stop. That means when I load my program up, the path will go on active, and then it will instantly stop on the screen. So then all I need to do to activate this bomb is to press play. On my first couple of examples, I had to keep using various other tools, and it just made it more logic gates. So this is the most efficient way I can get the bomb to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to chuck in a button just to show this working. So let me get a little button here. Right, so here's my button. When I press this, so let's put a button in. New logic connection. When pressed, I am going to obviously input a signal. On output, I want to start the timer. So by using the path tool and having it stop it on itself, I don't have to have logic gates, and I don't have to keep switching these on and off, otherwise it'd be far more complicated than I need. Now I'm just going to the properties of the timer, and I'm going to change the properties here. It's saying 300 seconds. I don't want this on a countdown of 10, so change that down to 10, and you'll see it says countdown from target. So it's already set for you there. So what we can do here now is, right on that option, so that we do new logic connection. So clicked on there, so I've gone square button, new logic connection. When timer has expired, yeah, so we've reached that down. I'm going to go to my path. I'm going to start my path off. So can we switch it back on? Okay. So that'll turn off, and then that dot will start to move. So if I just come out of here, so Kylo Ren's going to come across, so you see the path, press the button, we now have a countdown going. And as you look on here, there's the counter, the dot says on the screen, and when my time goes up, it just triggers up the path. And like I say, every time it reaches one of those points, that's when I'm going to get an effect to go off. And when it gets to the bottom, it stops, instantly stops on the screen, ready to go when I want to press the button again. So in this case, I can reuse the atom bomb more than once. I don't have to reset any logic gates, I don't have to switch anything off, it's just ready to go. It will pause itself, and I press the button again, it will go. So if you're using like a survival game, and if you press the button it wipes out all the troopers, you can do that particular option. Now the trick here is, now for all the other points, what happens? So I've gone to my next second point, go to new logic connection, along this path, when I reach that point on the path, yeah, the new logic connection, I'm going to go to the first logic gate. So I'm going to go into there, first logic gate, and I'm going to say, right, can we play once? I don't want it looped. Can you play once? And I want the explosion, and I want the biggest explosion you've got, which is the huge one. This only is the only way you can get this, by playing it once, the huge explosion. Go up to the next one. As you see, you can see I've got the connection, so I can go up. I haven't got a line there, so it's not connected, so I can do this one next. So new logic connection, when point reached on path, go across and connect it to this logic. So when we reach this point, can you play this one once? Can you do explosions? and you can do huge explosion. Now while I was doing it, I always get confused which one am I doing next, so I've laid it out to be as organised as possible. So as you go up, you can see the line, get to the third one, there is no line, so that's the one I'm doing next. So square button, new logic connection, when point reached on path. Now again, which one have I done? That's got a line, so it's not that one, that's empty, so that's my next one. Can I play once? Can I do explosion? And I can do huge explosion. And now I need to do that for every single one of these logic gates. So as I go through here, I've got to go up again, so keep going up. Right, no path, that's the next one I do. So logic connection, and I've got to do now for every single one of the remaining 12 effects generator, the same one. So all the way across there, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to repeat this now, all the way across the rest of this item. Now I don't want to bore you silly while I do this, but as you see, I've already done a quarter of this. It doesn't take too long, but let's just speed up the time. And there you go, I'm straight away to the very last one. So as you see, I go all the way up. Each one I've connected up. Okay, so get onto here, this one I've got to do next. New logic connection, when point reached on path, come all the way down, back down to my box. There's the last one. Play once, shoot explosion. So that now is all set up. We now have all the explosions going off at those effects generators. So before we start positioning all these tools, I need to connect these effects generators to the locators. Okay, so I've laid it out here because it makes it easier for me to do this before I position them. So I'm going to the first effects generator, and I'm going to go new locator connection and point to this locator. So I'm going to click on there, and it says effects located. Now when I go to the next again, I've got to do the same again. New locator connection, move it across. You'll notice the first one doesn't get highlighted anymore because it's already connected to it. So again, I kept on forgetting which one I've done. This way it's quite straight. But locator, keep moving across till you get it to beep and locate those across. So back to the last one. New locator connection. Keep going across. You'll see none of those are highlighting because they're already connected. That one's done. So I know which one I haven't done. So even though I have to remember it, they'll become highlighted or they won't on the screen. And I now need to do this for every single one. So effects locator for the first one, go across to the next. Now once these locators are set up, when the explosion goes off, they will all go. So I'll actually get 4 explosions in those for each one of those dots on the first one. The second one will do 2 and so on. Now again, I've got to do this to the whole lot, so I've speeded up time again to help us do this. So I'm jumping up, so you've obviously got right to the very end. So I've gone through each one of these and located these up. So the last ones are quite a big set. So I've gone through each single one and have to match them up to the entire chain. But I've done that for every single one. So the one with the 12 took the longest, but I say a little bit painful to set up, but it didn't actually take that long. But you get the gist of here. You have to go through and set all these locators up. So I've done that for every single one of those items. Just haven't shown you for the large one, but I did it for each one. But laying it this out way basically makes it most efficient, and you don't tend to miss it because you can see quite clearly. You don't have to remember or count. Right, so that now is all our locators, and as you'll see as I scan through them, they're all connected to. So they're all connected to those, they're all connected to those ones, and so on. All connected all the way through that list. So what we've got to do now is I want to position those bombs. I want to position where those explosions occur. So as I say, the first set, when you go off, I'm going to get 4 explosions. So that's the initial explosion. So I want that to be quite big. So I'm going to point to the first one, and if you press X, I can now move the locator. Now that's going to be the center of the explosion. So I'm going to do it 2 squares to the side of that, along the ground. Now when you press the button, be careful with when you're in spark mode. So what I've done is you highlight the box you want, press X, move it into the position you want. So you'll see here I'm doing it 2 either side, and I press X to confirm the position. When I press X, it thinks I want to use another locator, so then I have to press R1 to come out of there and go back to the spark tool. So just be careful when you do this because I have deleted a fair number. Now in this particular one, I'm going to go across and I'm going to go 1 up, so it's on level with the first box. So I've got 2 at the side, and the other one is a slight stagger, but it's a bigger explosion. So press R1 to the mode, and then I can grab that item, press X to pick it up. So that's going to go 2 to the other side, so 1, 2 backwards. So I'm creating like a big square, but in this case it's going to be slightly higher up the funnel. So the initial explosion is quite large. That's why I needed the 4, so you get the big ground explosion. And now I need the funnel going up. So point to, so just recap again. So that's the first explosion. So the second one is continue the funnel up. So point to the first one, press X. Now I'm going to stagger them either side. So you'll see here it's 2 up from the bottom. Now press X, press R1, go back to spark mode, go down, press X again to select the item. So I'm pressing X here to pick it up. So this is the other side. I move it up to, press X to confirm it, then R1 to come out, back to spark mode, and I'm going to repeat this up, but I'm going to stagger it going from 2 for one side and 2 from the other. So you now see I'm going up on here. So it's level. So I don't want it to be level. You'll see it, so I need it to go up on the screen. And if you look, you can see the funnel going around. So I've got 2 at the bottom, twist it, 2 in the middle, twist it, 2 again. So I'm going up again. Once you've got the first set located up, you can make sure you can line them up on the screen. And I'm going to carry on going up and placing all these explosions. And you see quite quickly, it doesn't take too much time. So I'm going to speed up time again and just get the rest of the funnel done. But as you'll see, I'm adding these up on the screen and putting those across. So now I've got the funnel going all the way up the screen on the 2. So what we're going to do now is the mushroom cloud. Okay, so the first set of explosions. So we've got to the top of our funnel. So I've grabbed the first one. But obviously when you do it, you don't do it on the same level. Each point is, I'm doing it in level with the point itself. So it's still going up. So the reason why I needed 8, because I wanted to make sure that we're right at the centre at the top of the cloud. So I'm going to have, instead of being in 2s, I'm going to have a complete 4 going around the top. So as you'll see here at the top of the cloud. Right, so going straight up. I'm putting this up. I'm going to have a string of 4 to say this is the base of the atom bomb. Now you could be efficient and have fewer dots. I don't know what the best number to use. I find the more you have, the more chances you've got to get the effect to work. So let's get the 4 ones done. Okay, the trick here, do not by accident delete the things. So there we go, up a bit more. Right, so we've now got the 4 going around the screen. So like I say, it's got up in 2s. Now we've got the 4. Now the other remaining 4 are going to expand out. So I'm going to move them across from the side. I tend to go out in 2s. I think I could go out even in bigger gaps to get a bigger mushroom cloud. I tried effects where I used paths to move these dots. There's no need to have them. The explosion is random every time, so it's not, just have them moving out will be just sufficient. So I'm going to do 2 from that particular point. I try to create some sort of symmetry pattern to make it easier for me to do it, but it really doesn't matter, it is random. And when these explosions go off, and one thing I've tested with the huge explosion, it does actually do a different formation every single time. So the particles expand out each time slightly differently, so it gives you the same effect. Now I say this one's taken a while to put together, and due to my little samples and tests, trying to get this to work, and I believe one time I got almost done and I had a power cut and lost all the clips. Honestly, the language was horrendous, which is one of the reasons why it took so long. So I'd advise you to save as you go along. Yes, you're right, I hadn't saved it at all, which is really annoying. Right, so there now you'll see I've got expanded out. Now what I've done here is I've done the same with the other options. I've carried expanded each level out. So I've gone up to the next level and I've started spreading them out again, so twisting the angle gap. So you'll see the lower level I did which was just the 4. Now put these ones the higher level up, and I'm trying to fill in the gaps, but again still making sure I'm making the cloud come away. It's got to, if you just do it, just the explosion will go up. So these, as it's the mushroom part of the atom bomb, you've got to make sure you fill in gaps, but at the same time they are coming away from the path. Yeah. So if you see here, I've tried to create like an extra. I think I did 4 boxes, so it's even wider. But the wider it comes, the more of a mushroom cloud it looks on the screen. I speed it up time because again, there's no real science to this, so there's no wrong or right answer here. And you can readjust these once you've finished the box because we've set the logic all up. Now, like I said on previous things, I was trying to join these up while I had them in position. Have them down at the bottom and then move them up so much more easier, because then all you're worried about with the dots now is where you want the position for them to appear. So that's the next level. So let's now go to the next part. So I'm speeding up time. So again, you'll see here the next level I took further away, and you'll notice I'm not put them in the center. So the center is, we started off the center, and you'll see now they're all going further away. The center I left clear. Because the outside will be a big explosion, you won't actually see the centerpiece anymore. So I don't need to fill them in, they'll be wasted explosions. So all these dots, and hence why I went from being quite dense to then going down. That's why I went to like 12 dots, and then I'm going back down to 8. So again, I'm making these go further out. Also, if you notice, look at all the dots of explosion I've got. It doesn't take up much memory at all, so it's quite low key. So although it looks like it's taking loads up, it's not too bad. So I've slightly speeded up time, but every time I put these dots on, remember, I've put them in line with what sets them off. So they're always going up and they're going out as well on the screen. And in our case, you'll see I'm trying to line up a pattern and keep it symmetrical. It doesn't really matter. An atom bomb isn't really symmetrical. The other it looks, it just gives that different effect. Right, so I put my last one on. So that there is my cloud. Yeah. That is my atom bomb with the explosions coming up and the dots coming out on the screen. And like I say, when the path goes off, it will shoot up the path, and each one of those will chain off in an explosion, which comes in quite handy. Right, so that's that part done. That is our mushroom effect. But we obviously want people to die when it happens. It's a huge explosion. So, as they go up, the explosion goes up. What I did notice in my test, as the explosion went up on the screen, they left a big gap. And I wanted a huge thing. So I needed a funnel to make sure I still kept the cylinder. And I want that to go in this particular part. So, this key here, the first dot, is what sets the explosion off. So once the explosion goes, I'd like the funnel to go. And the funnel doesn't go off straight away. It's like a few bits delay. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to do another connection from this point. So on the second point, not the first one where I've got it as the stopping, but the second point that triggers the thing, can you also trigger off this effects generator? But this one is going to be played in a loop. Yeah? And that is going to be a smoke one, and it's going to be the smoke plume. Yeah? So I'd like that to be the smoke on the second point. Now obviously with this one I need to locate that with all these 4 points. So where do I want the smoke to appear? I want them to appear wherever I put these locators. So I now go across and again, like before, add locators to all this effects generator. Okay, so there's my 4 dots. Now I need to move these. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do them slightly inside the area. So you'll see that I did 2 boxes. I'm going to do this 1 gap away. Yeah? And I'm going to do it 4 corners. So none of these overlap. Oops, so go across. Press X to move it. So move it across here. So these are the 4 corners around my Disney Infinity button. Press R1 to go back, then move it across. Now I kept the Disney Infinity badge there because when you start off the platform, because it was a good starting point, a focal point to where I was. You don't have to do it, but then once I've got it set up, I can move the starting point away. I found it was a good focal point for me, so I could move it away. You don't need to have the mat there in place. So there's my smoke that will stay there and keep the cylinder going up. So that now, I set that off and that'll explode on that item. So I can see they're all connected to that point. So also, we've got the first set of explosions going off. I'm now going to do another logic connection. So on the same point that triggers everything off, I'm going to set the next one off to say, right, can we have this, and can we play this in a loop, and I'd like this to be smoke. And this is all the cloud of smoke at the bottom of an atom bomb. So I'm going to do large smoke area. Now the reason why I need so many locators connected to these is because this smoke area is going to expand away, and I'm going to set it off, going off in different directions, so it gives out that cloud of smoke moving away from the centre of the atom bomb. So I'm just going to connect these all up, so I'll speed up time again so you've got the rough idea what I'm doing here. Right, so once I've got all these connected, so I finish these all up here on the screen. So these locators are going to be around the bottom of the explosion, and they're all going to be connected to a path. And those paths, when the explosion goes off, they're going to set off and they're going to expand out. So I'm going to connect these paths in a moment from the sky. They're going to expand out. So these locators are going to move, and as they move, anything in those areas is going to be killed. So it will be the radius of the explosion. So what I need to do then is that when I go through those explosions, I need to link each of these trigger areas to these locators. So I'm going on to here, I'm pressing the button and connecting it to the locator. So just repeat that again, square button, new locator connection, and I'm going to match up each trigger area to its own locator, and that's why I lined them up this way so you can do it. So we'll just speed up time, and so every single one of these I've gone through, new locator connection, and if, like I say, if you lay it out in this way, it's very quick to build. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to do. I tend to now lay out my objects, all the things I'm going to use, so it's easy to set up. Now what I need to do here is with these trigger areas, I need to connect these up that when we're in that area that we're going to be killed or destroyed. So I need to change the property of this box. I'm going to properties and I'm going to say change the target for this trigger area, and then can you change it to be the locator. And I'm all going to say the distance as well. Now in this clip I've just shown you I'm going to change this to 50. 50 was too big, it's wrong, don't. 20, 15 is probably about the number that you need to use. Now once you've got those two set up, go to new logic connection, and we're going to say when you enter that area, I'd like anything enter that area, it can be a person, object, vehicle, whatever, I want you to go and input a signal into that logic gate. And by using logic gate we can switch when it's a deadly or not deadly option. So I now need to do the same thing for every single one of these dynamic triggers. So I'm going to go to the properties, I'm going to make sure I change each of the properties not to be this toy, because otherwise it stays on this point, it needs to be on the locator. And then I need to change the distance, and as I say, the best option is about 10-15. I've used 50, which was wrong. 10-15 is the better option. You find if you have it 50, everything gets killed immediately, and it doesn't have the effect of the cloud moving away. So again, I'm going to speed up time and do that for all those options. So change to locator, change that to 15 or 20, not 50. Then I'm going to add new location. When we enter that area by anything, can we input a signal into this gate? Okay, and I'll just get the last one done. And again, as you see, as you move across, you can see that line going back to the gate, so I can see which one I haven't done if I get distracted. So new locator. Set it to, again, 15, 10, not 50. And then we say, on entered, by any, can we connect that to this gate? Now, as we're aware, with logic gates, when you load them up, they are open. So theoretically, if that logic gate there is connected to this trigger, everyone is going to instantly die if you go near the bomb, and the bomb hasn't gone off yet. So we're going to do the effect of that when they've exploded, that this gate is going to be closed. So we want to have to switch that off. So we're going to do a new logic connection on here, and it's not on output, but it's when the input is blocked, right? And like I said, the default setting is when it's opened, but when it's blocked, right, then we know we've set the thing off. We're going to connect it to this kill switch, and I'm going to tell it to kill everybody that's in that area. And as these dots move, they will all get killed. So the further the explosion goes away, the more people will die. So it gives you that type of atom bomb effect. So this is the bit that gives you the bit that will kill everyone out. So we're going to defeat them on here. Now the other thing is, we have to then make sure that gate is closed when the bomb goes off. So the thing is, what triggers the bomb? Well, the timer is what triggers the bomb. So in this case, we're going to do another connection from the timer. And we're going to say, right, when that timer has expired, so we're going to do a new logic connection. And when that timer has expired, I want you to close the gate. Right, by closing that, what we now know is that the bomb is now active, and all these areas will now kill anything that's in sight as it expands across. So what we need now is the path that these clouds expand on. So I'm going to need another path creator, and I'm going to make it in like a star shape. So from the center, just again, I'm just positioning it slightly away from the center of the point here. And I click on that button, and I'm just going to do one click. So one click, press down, and then just to the end point. So go all the way to the very end. And I'm just going to do it to the size of the square. I did it sometimes too big on my previous test examples, but this was about a good adequate size for the atom bomb. So I'm going to do straightforward all the straight lines first. Now remember, for each path it will use a separate locator. Now as you'll notice here is that I've set it to 50, and that's why I set it to 50 in my example that was wrong, because I wanted to make sure everything gets killed. There will be little gaps where a person might get away with not getting killed, and I'd class them as a radioactive survivor. It's not guaranteed to kill everybody. It gets I would say 90% of them. The more paths you have at the bottom here, the better the effect will be, but then it just takes longer to do. So I thought about 8 was probably the best optimum line. So look, I've got all the 4 going across, but in these 4 sections here you could survive it. So what I'm going to do here now is have a thing at an angle. So I position it roughly about there. So I'm trying to make it like a square around it. And again, just pull that, and I'm going to do that straight diagonal to the very corner piece. So the further away you are, the more you've got a chance of being some surviving. Now, an atom bomb could be something you're trying to stop with your Avenger heroes. An atom bomb you could use in a game that if you get so many kills, you can fire an atom bomb that will wipe everybody out. You could drop it on the screen. So if you're doing a survival game, you could have an option. You press that, it will kill all the enemy, and it doesn't have to kill you. So I've got the kill switch to kill everybody. You could change that just to defeat all the enemies, so you still survive, and it wipes them all out. So if you manage to get 5 kills on the trot without dying, you could try and get that to occur. Or if you wanted the real effect, we could have 3 or 4 of these going on, but it'll take a little while to do. And if you are going to have like 3 or 4 atom bombs in the same toy box, it won't take much space up, but I would make sure you save your toy box as you go along. Right, so that there is the path that we're going to do. Excellent. So next stage. What we're going to do now is I need to change these particular settings. So I've got the path all set up. Now I tried different speeds, okay, but the first thing we're going to do here is that when we get to the end of the path, the smoke's done its job. Otherwise it'll keep going back to the center because these are looped through. So what I'm going to do is, like the path tool that we've got that triggers the bomb off, at the end of the path, I say when you reach there, can you go back to the beginning of it, and can we reset and stop? So instead of just stop, I'm just going to do reset and stop. Goes all the way back, and reset stop. So what happens is the locator will move to the end, it will say reset, jump back to the end, and it will then stop at the end of that path. And that will then leave us the smoke cloud right at the very bottom of the base of the explosion, which we're going to need. Now with the big smoke cloud, it takes a few seconds to build up, so I haven't changed the speed of the path tool at all. I'm leaving it default at 100 because I just want it to slowly move away. I had it too fast in my examples, and by the time the actual cloud appeared, it was back to the center. So I'm not changing the speed of these paths, I'm leaving them default at 100. So at the end of each of these paths, I'm going back to the center of it and saying, can we reset and stop? So let's just go recap again what I'm doing on here. So at the end of this path, when the locator gets to the end, can you then say when point reached on path, I only want the last one, yeah, go to that point there, and can we reset and stop? Okay, so we've got this all done. So they are now stop. So what I'm going to do now is say that there will go onto the screen. They will all reset the cloud as they go across on that particular item. So our second part is what triggers it off. So what I'm going to do here is I want the explosion to occur and we want the clouds, but I want the clouds to appear at the bottom of the system first. So I'll give it a couple of half a second. So I've just gone up a little bit higher to the third point. And from this third point, it's like when my timer shoots up and hits that, I want them to start moving. So when that point is reached on that tool, can we switch the gates on? So can we go to this path tool, and can you actually say reset and play? So can you turn that item on? Now I've got a little bit higher because I didn't want it getting too busy from the roots. You see it's getting quite clustered down there, so it doesn't really matter. It's going to be like a half a second anyway. But for each one of those options now, I'm going to go and say reset and play. So up to the path tool here, point to link, check, and you can check which one you are because you can see on the screen. You do reset. When point reaches on path, we go to the other path tool and can we start this one off? And this is just to recap at the very beginning. This center piece is a fantastic timer because while it moves across there, you can get it to trigger loads of other events. It's quite a cool thing. Have you ever watched any special effects movie? They have like a stick which they move across, and as they roll their stick across, it sets all the dynamite off. And that's what gave me the idea if I could use something like that to give the chain of explosions. So just to turn this on the head, if you had a path going along the ground and set the explosion up, you could have like a flyby bombing effect occurring that the explosion's going across as a ship flies across. Just giving you different ideas to use the tool that I've just shown you. But don't worry, I've got loads of videos coming up with that. So let me set them all up. There we go, so there we go. So new logic connection when point reached on path. Reset and play, so that will switch those smokes to move across from the screen. And that's the path section done. That's them all set up. So reset and play. I've got them all to be connected on the screen. So now I've got those all set up. I'm going to go to each of these locators and I'm going to do new path connection, and I'm going to link each one to a particular path. Now I've got that logic set up first, and the reason why I've done the logic first is that when I do that path, you'll see it start to move. Yeah? But it gets to the end, it will stop, and you can see now it's stopped there at the top, so I can do the next one. Now you'll see here in my clip, it moves quite quickly. Yours won't move as quickly as that because you didn't change the speed. You've got the speed set as default 100. I changed this in this example to 300. It's way too quick. So I didn't want to record the video again of doing it at 100 speed, so I've just cut out that scene where I changed the speed. But you basically want it around about 100. But it'll take a while, but when it gets to the end, you'll see it'll stop at the dot. And we're almost there to get you for your atom bomb. So I just finished these last two off, and then the atom bomb, like I say, is ready to go and ready to test it. Now, in a moment, I'm going to just jump the gun because all I've done is I've just rearranged and created the landscape for the environment I want to blow up. So everything you see here is the logic for the atom bomb. Okay, so we'll just finish this last locator. And we'll chuck that in there. So then we're done on here. like I say, what I've done here now is I've now created a landscape, just put extra boxes on, and I put a couple of buildings and some rocks on. But you also notice my all my logic stuff's disappeared. I've got the locators, but where's all my actual tools? And my creativity toys are hidden on a platform down below. So all I did was quite quickly click on each box, and like I did with the locator, just move them down, hidden out the way, so the user won't see them within their game. Now I've also created a couple of other buttons that lets me generate a wave generator, so I've got people to be destroyed. I've also added a couple of buildings, but sadly the buildings do not blow up from the atom bomb. There has a separate process. So this button here generates my civilians that I'm going to kill, and this is the button that we put on to set the timer off. My other clips that I've got coming will show you how to get the buildings to blow up, but I've got cool other little things to do. So let's see it go. There you go, there's your atom bomb. Now I hope you liked that, I hope you found it some good. Sorry for the delay, but there are more coming, so keep them chucking in. And I think I have to thank Assassin01 for the idea for the atom bomb. Cheers, thanks a lot, and thanks for watching.